doesn't cut master. Not at all. No. This is not sufficient. Look, in fact, what he has said is just like basically listening to candidate Akuffo Addo in 2016. Just like what Samson said on the program, supported by other panelists yesterday. Sloganeering, that's what it is. Yes. Because you heard the president famously say that he wanted to change the Gettysburg economy in 18 months. In 18 months, this is 6 years down the line, and he comes to say the same thing. Long term, we have to change the structure of the economy. We've always known it, but he didn't have what it takes to change the structure of the economy. He diagnosed the problem that we need to change it. He came, one district, one factory, was not sufficient. No, it was not. Okay, so it just tells you that, no, the president doesn't have what it takes to drive that change. So it still comes back to the same position that, Mr. President, respectfully, to show that you have honor, you just have to step down. Because, you remember another famous post that he had, the video is still around. You see that he says, when President Akuffo was leaving, 1 cedi, $1, and Mills Mahama, $1, 3 cedis. If it were him, he will resign. $1, 3 cedis. If it were him, he will resign. Today, the most charitable one we can give is, let's say, $1, 13 cedis. Why is Mr. President still in office? Why is he still in office? So look, it's all still slogans. It's all still slogans. Nothing is changed because let's just hold the president's feet to the fire. He said he would change the structure of the economy, this Gettysburg economy. Who supported President Akuffo Addo more than me? You check 2016 election, you check TV3, I was all rooting for him, saying that no, this is the real angel coming to save Ghana from the vampire at that time. I thought JDM was a vampire, right? Yes, even as of 2020, the elections, I was still supporting, hoping that, I was thinking that to be practical for politicians, you know, the first term he owes people and all that, so he was trying to pay the debts in the first term, and so the second term will be different. And he's repeated the same thing.
But it appears that we are downplaying the fact that we are in a difficult time. You've heard him mention that the comparison is not to belittle our woes. We've seen the situation in other countries, but he admits in that speech that by comparing our situation to other countries is not to belittle our woes. We are definitely in a crisis, and that's not even an exaggeration.
Very good.
So is it the case that we are just criticizing the president for criticizing's sake?
Far from that. He has just led us into a ditch. They've mismanaged the unbridled borrowing. MFR, let's ask. Didn't Togo go through the same? Is Togo not part of the world? Is their currency the worst performing? Burkina Faso, you know, we buy a lot of tomatoes from Burkina Faso. They are even grappling with insurgents and terrorists here and there. Yet we import millions of dollars of tomatoes from Burkina Faso, Nigeria, right? And so on and so forth, Côte d'Ivoire. Why is it that their currency is not the worst performing in the world and Ghana has the worst performing currency? Why? And then you compare, some of the countries have created jobs. Ours, look at it. Millions of graduates are home. They can't find work. And I'm like, so what does it take to do Operation Feed Yourself? Operation Feed Yourself. A champion tried it until date. This is one of the best things that he left with us. If you read Professor Akuffo Addo's book, that's for those who are too young to have followed the history. You read Professor Akuffo Addo's book, he talks about extols a champion for the Operation Feed Yourself. Look, let's repeat with all the strength we can master. The president in opposition said that this is a Gettysburg economy and that in 18 months he was going to change things. Please, that hasn't happened. And we are begging the president in the name of God. There is a place for honor. That's why the pledge that we used to sing in school, says that I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal. Anna, I promise on my Anna. We are not just saying the hard letter of the word, but there is a place even in our pledge for Anna. You said $1, 3 cedis. If you were the one, you will resign. Under your watch, it has moved from $1, about 4 cedis, or even call it 4 cedis, 50 pesos. Now, the most charitable is 13 cedis. So you should have resigned years ago. So, Mr. President, it's your own words. Like a certain lawyer said, this is poetic justice. Poetic justice.
What will be the alternative then?
The alternative, so Let the speaker, so he goes with Phantom Whiskey, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. So by the constitution, then it goes to the speaker. And of course, we all recognize that because the speaker is not of the MPP stock, the speaker should form a government of national unity. And within 3 months, let's have an election. Let the people decide.
But the plan that he's put out up until 2023, 2028, amongst others, you don't think that we're able to go through with it? Because he's saying we are making some progress with the 1D, 1F, but our current situation requires that we take some more stringent measures to discourage the importation of goods that we can do and produce here. At least you hear the president trying to unify the country in terms of the things that he thinks we need to implement in the days to come, such that we can rescue Ghana's economy. You don't think he needs time for that to happen?
No. He has overstayed his welcome. So MFR, we are begging Mr. President, he should just resign. There's a place for resignation. The Constitution itself says so, right? That he can resign. Maybe.
But do you see that happening?
He says he can
do
resign.
You see that happening, Mr.
Yes,
President?
he can. Once, as people, we tell him that respectfully, we think that.
Are these realistic demands that you are making?
66.
Are these realistic demands that you are making, Mr. President? Because you've asked for a reduction in size of government. That is not happening. And you're hopeful that the president will resign.
So that tells you that then the best is just that he goes. Article 66 makes provision for his resignation. So he resigns. Look, and let's not forget, Lieutenant General Joseph Ankra, he resigned over allegations of concerning about 6,000 cedis at the time. Mm-hmm. If you convert from the calculation, it's not more than $20,000. Allegations of over about 6,000, a bribe that he's alleged to have paid to somebody to influence a poll. Ankara resigned as a president. So, Mr. President, you should call his historians together. They should look in the history books and tell him that Ankara resigned in a matter concerning 6,000. So, Mr. President should resign. And it's here in the Constitution. And the Constitution makes it clear. So, it's not as if by all means we should run the course of 4 years. No. Once you've seen that this problem is beyond you, you are not able to get your head around it, you just resign. Because it's the same thing, the same story for 6 years. You see the exemptions he mentioned, it was in 2018 or so, 2019. In his State of the Nation address, he mentioned that the exemption that they had been given was the biggest problem. Mm-hmm. He's giving his own family and friends exemptions. So it's the chickens that have come to what? Roost. Mm. So the big government, the 150, 116 ministers he had in the first term, right? Increasing presidential staffers, increasing all the borrowing and bridal borrowing. Those are the chickens that have come home to roost. So we are now paying for it. And you see how we've paid with our savings. So MFR, at the beginning of this year, if you have $6,400 in your account, you could get $1,000. Today, with $6,400, you can't even get $400. So over 60% of your savings have been whittled away. So the president has to realize that something has to give. So, MFA, let's ask Mr. President, what is giving? So he doesn't accept responsibility for it. And please, when we say accept responsibility, it's not just the slogans. I know you're going through hard times. That's not sufficient. He has to say that, please, I'm extremely sorry I've brought this upon you. So please, I want to resign. And then he does so. That is the responsibility. Anything short of his responsibility will not help. Look, I've seen comments from Jacob Kpebu. I see the independent candidate. He asks a question. He says that out of the whole speech, so what is to happen by 2024? Why is that His Excellency's comment is about the projection is on to 2028. Yeah. But there's nothing about 2024. So by the time he's leaving in 2 years, what would it be? So listen to Jacob Osei. He says the president's address on 30th October 2022 is only affirming breaking the 8 mentality. The president failed to state how the economy will be by the end of 2024. Projections into 2028 is depressing without hope. There's no clear solution to the economic challenges, and I wonder how closure of Forex Bureau can resolve the cedi depreciation. There are other people. So please, the problem is that, let's ask His Excellency, so in all of this, where is owning the problem? When we say own the problem, take the bull by the horns, where is that? And to say, I feel what you feel, it's not sufficient. Okay. In the meantime, you see when he was going around his the current tour, 40 V8s. When he came, within the first 3 months, there is a moratorium on V8s. Then in no time, they started buying V8s. They continued buying and buying and buying, unbridled spending. And it's come home to roost. So you say, oh, I'm sorry. Please, I want to resign. Then you go.
Okay.
The Constitution provides for it. Article 66, that he can resign. It's not by force to stay in office for 4 years.
The issue about the city, for instance, is the likes of you, the comments that you make, he says, he can't pay it. And that if we continue to make a lot of noise about the city, it will not thrive. And that comments like this does not help the city.
No, that's very disingenuous. His Excellency didn't have to make that comment at all. Did you hear His Excellency talk about their unbridled borrowing? Did you hear him mention that they borrowed recklessly? Borrowed without checking, without necessary economic models to check the impact. I heard Mr. Kwampieni mention that every budget, if you say you are borrowing, we borrowed about 8 billion euro bond. What was the accompanying impact? The economic modeling. No, His Excellency shouldn't have made that comment that is comments that are driving down the city. He didn't talk about the unbridled borrowing. When he was in opposition, he said, look, he could make enough money from fighting corruption alone to take care of free SHS. That was his answer. When the BBC asked him, how are you going to fund free SHS? He said, oh, the fight against corruption alone. And you see the recent Auditor General's report. You see the misapplication of funds, all those things running, okay, well in excess of 15 billion, right? Yes, so what happened to that fight? Look, even me sitting here, Dr. Anamzoe, there's this popular case. People came together to steal 5 million Ghana. Anamzoe reported it over 5 months. The president did nothing. He did nothing. I also came and sat here on Newsfire, reported it several months down the line. The CEO of the Northern Development Authority is still in office. The officers who aided him are still in office. The president is rather being interested in shielding public officers from prosecution, from accountability. There are other examples we can give. So it still comes back to one word, sloganeering. Sloganeering. You see, he didn't address the fact that he had promised that he would change the structure of this economy in 18 months. And not even in the last election, they promised to pay rent. Yes, they promised to pay rent. You see Nana Kumia on Ghana Web. We will pay rent for young people. So where is the rent? Now rent, no one. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in 2012. The government is blaming speculators for the fall in the cedi instead of tackling its depreciation. You see, poetic justice.
Nothing new.
The government is blaming speculators for the fall in the cedi instead of tackling its depreciation. Maybe the president's speech should have been shown to him. He would have edited out this so that, because it's all over social media. Yeah, so MFA, back to Kumi Preko. That's the right thing to do. Please, fellow Ghanaians, Saturday, 7 a.m., 5th November, please come join us. Let's do Kumi Preko. We'll call on His Excellency to resign so that we can have fresh blood, fresh ideas. His Excellency goes with his whiskey, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, so that we can have fresh blood, fresh ideas.